A growing number of alleged sexual assault survivors are publicly sharing their stories. The outpouring is in response to President Trump's criticism of Supreme Court nominee Brett Kavanaugh's accuser. Christine Blasey Ford claims Kavanaugh sexually assaulted her in high school, which he denies. The hashtag #WhyIDidn'tReport started trending on social media after the president questioned Blasey Ford's credibility. He tweeted, quote, "If the attack on Dr. Ford was as bad as she says, charges would have been immediately filed." But survivors say it's just not that easy.
It never occurred to me, really, until many years later that it was rape. I thought this was something that was entirely my fault.
Author Diane Chamberlain says it took 5 decades to share her story of sexual assault, which occurred when she was 18 years old. She says she didn't even tell her best friend.
I would have told her everything. So that's sort of a sign of just how ashamed I was of putting myself in that position.
Chamberlain was one of more than 720,000 people, women and men, who took to Twitter this weekend using the hashtag #WhyIDidn'tReport. Among them, Me Too advocate and actress Alyssa Milano, whose tweet has been shared more than 16,000 times. "I was sexually assaulted twice, once when I was a teenager. I never filed a police report, and it took me 30 years to tell my parents." Many listed reasons why they kept quiet. "Because I knew it was his word against mine. Because I'm still afraid." Psychologist Dawn Hughes.
Rape and sexual assault and victimization in general is vastly underreported to authorities.
7 out of 10 victims do not report rapes and other assaults to police. The same percentage actually know their attacker. Hughes says that can make it more difficult for them to come forward.
Fear that you're not going to be taken seriously, and then you're going to be the target. You're going to be shamed and humiliated. And sometimes that cost-benefit analysis is just too much to bear for a victim.
Chamberlain hopes the current wave of people speaking up will empower the next generation.
I hope that the conversation we're having now would enable teenage girls today to know that they do need to turn to authorities instead of my generation just living with this horror.
We should note that since that hashtag #WhyIDidn'tReport started, the organization that runs the National Sexual Assault Hotline says it saw a 42% increase in phone calls. That's compared to an average Friday or Saturday.
Yeah. That's why this story is so important, Norah, that you're putting it in that perspective, because anyone who has been through this totally understands why women don't come forward. And I think people find it egregious, including the President of the United States, his tweet over the weekend where he said, well, why didn't she come forward? Or why didn't her loving parents say something? Because you're afraid you won't be believed, you're embarrassed and ashamed. And on some level, many women think it was their fault, which is absolutely not true.
And in talking to somebody who was affected by that tweet,
yes,
it reached down into a very white-hot response.
Yeah.
And so there's some...
And all the details come tumbling out, no matter how long it's been.
It goes to an interesting that my voice does not matter.
Yes.
What happened to me does not matter. And that's what's changing, is that my voice does matter.